Communication Error.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Communication Error podcast. We have an intro song, and man, last week, Cheesy, I don't know if Cheesy knows this, but last week it took me forever to get that episode to work. I have no idea what was happening. I think it was because of the intro song.
Probably. It was like, whoa, this is new. I don't know how to do this. Do you guys know how to do this?
I think it was like it was a weird format, and it like just kept not working. So like, I'm hoping I don't have that issue this week. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the intro song because it is causing problems.
it's a communication error.
Yeah, it's a communication error.
But yeah, we're probably gonna mess around with it some more, so don't get too attached. But yeah, I think it was fun for our first little intro song.
Yeah, we have some comments that people enjoyed it. It might be a little long. I agree.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
That's fine. But yeah, we're episode 24, the community patch host episode of Gamer Burnout. And before we get into it, we have a very special guest. You may have seen him saying one egg, handful of peas on TikTok. It's DaftHusky. How you doing?
What's up? How is it going? I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk games with you guys. I've known you guys for quite a while as well, so it's nice to get together for this.
Yeah, we met through TikTok, right? Like we've all met through TikTok.
I think so.
So TikTok.
Did you meet Johnny first?
I think I knew who Johnny was first. But I think I connected on Cheesy more first because of the Splatoon content at the time.
Hey,
and
nice.
then I think Johnny may become mutuals later. I don't know when exactly. It all kind of fades behind me now. But yeah, we all know each other and making the TikTok content, classic.
Well, you have the Splatoon content where you're going through the lobby and like saying everybody's posts. Like that is such a genius idea, and
that was like my daily grind on TikTok for a while. Was just reading kids' Splatoon posts, and I had a bunch of fun doing that. But yeah,
I mean they're fun, they're crazy, and like I can understand why you wanted to make content out of that.
Some of them are just off the wall. Like these are, young kids to teenagers just saying like,
oh yeah,
bonkers stuff.
From doing that series so long ago, I opened myself up to a whole new world of like Gen Z culture and like even younger than that. Like, yeah.
Because even when I load up Splatoon 3, I see something on like one of the posts. I'm like, how is Nintendo allowing this to happen?
I don't know. I find the ones that are like, I made this, and I'm like, good for you. I gotta fresh that, like
yeah, you gotta hype them up, dude. Hype up the drawings.
Well, Daft, before we get into it, do you want to say what it is that you do or how people may know you?
Sure. So my name is DaftHusky. I'm primarily a rhythm and retro game streamer nowadays. I did used to make some Splatoon content, but kind of moved on from that now. I'm known most for what Johnny Bo introduced me with the one egg handful of peas as kind of a trend that's set on TikTok for playing the Rhythm Heaven series, which is now one of my favorite Nintendo series. And it was just this weird coincidence of playing this endless mini game where you try to rank up a high score by feeding eggs and peas to this kid on a train served by a monk and handed by a girl, and it's just this most bizarre thing. So I kind of understand why like TikTok gravitated towards it, because it's just so like in your face and weird. But yeah, that was like a whole trend, and since then I've also just been enjoying streaming retro games and other rhythm games, and I'm a huge supporter of indie games as well, so that's kind of my jam.
Yeah, I've seen you play like the indie rhythm games. I forget what Sounds
for sure.
and Shapes, is that one of them?
Yeah, I recently played Just Shapes and Beats. Yeah,
Shapes and Beats. I think I saw Melatonin. I think was the one that really
Melatonin, and also that game really helped my channel as well, and it helped the developer as well. Like we were in communication with each other and it was like, wow, like this game's really popping off on TikTok. And that was one of my first experiences thinking, wow, you know, I really love getting to showcase indie games, and actually like for the first time having a platform to do that was really, really cool. So that was very inspiring. But yeah, if you haven't played Melatonin, it's on the Switch, it's on Steam. Huge recommend. That's a good rhythm game.
Yeah, aesthetically pleasing too.
Yeah, it's got nice like a pastel color palette, and all the music is original, composed like lo-fi. Like it's just a great. It's a short game too, but it's just a nice time. It's a nice, comfy, cozy. Until you try to speed run it, then it becomes not cozy.
I do have a question for you, and I don't know. I don't want to like. If you don't want to say the answer, you don't have to. Okay.
Sure.
But some of the videos that I find hilarious are just you staring at the screen.
I want to know this too.
Staring into my soul while you're like playing a game. Are you actually playing the game when you're doing that, or is that just?
Yes, I am playing the game.
Are you really?
Wow, that's impressive.
Yes. It's not cut. It's not cut. And that was something that I did not mean to like make a series of videos on that. I only meant to do that once because I was like, in my view, I was like, I wanted to record a blindfolded video to show that I could play the song blindfolded. But I thought, wouldn't it be funnier if I just stared at the camera? Because I kind of see the screen in my peripheral, but it's like I'm still not looking at the game. So like that was my idea the first time, and then the comment sections just blew up with like crazy stuff like, this dude's peering into my soul. What is this guy so angry about? This is my disappointed father. Like, and so I was like, I can roll with this. This is funny. So I did like 15 more of them, and like some of them went viral, some of them didn't, but it's all for fun in my hands. I'm just like, yeah, let's roll with it.
Yeah, I thought, I thought they were fake, honestly, because I know like I would do something like that, but I would not be able to actually do it, so I would fake it.
Yeah, just Janie.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. Like if you need to like manufacture your content like slightly just to be able to tell your story, I say do it. Unless you're like lying to like there's a way to lie to the viewer that's respectful, but then there's like a disrespectful way, like where you're just like, if you're cheating like on a speed run or something, like that's not cool. But I think there are ways to like enhance the content for the viewer where it's like, oh yeah, like it's like a harmless thing. I don't know. Like I definitely think about stuff like that, but no, for everything I've done with those, like it's all legit.
Interesting.
And you got
I'm sorry, if you've never seen these videos, you don't understand what I'm talking
No, you have.
about.
All right, so everybody listening right now, go to DaftHusky's TikTok. I'm sure you'll be able to find.
It's like the first pinned video on there right now. Yeah, it's just me staring at the camera.
You'll know he's staring right into your soul the whole time, while he's just
but also nailing all of the notes, like not missing a beat.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the ones that went the craziest was playing Through the Fire and the Flames on a rhythm level and just staring at the camera the whole time. I thought that was my proudest one because that was the hardest one to do.
That was Bits and Bops? Is that
Bits and Bops is another indie project, which is that one's still in development actually, but they ran a successful Kickstarter campaign, so they're chugging along on that one. And yeah, I'm super stoked for it. It's very much inspired by the Rhythm Heaven series, which is a game that we are in a drought of. We haven't had a new Rhythm Heaven since the 3DS.
They have to have seen. They have to have seen how popular it is on TikTok, right? Like they have to have seen it.
I guarantee you they've seen it, or at least somebody at market research at Nintendo has to know at this point that there is a strong demand. And I think there is hope, especially because one of the series producer had previously had some like health concerns, but I think he's on the upswing from that. So maybe he decides to get back into it because he's kind of the heart and soul of the series as well. So I have a lot of copium hope for Rhythm Heaven. I for a while I thought we're gonna get it on the Switch, but then they announced another WarioWare game, and I think those studios share the series together.
Oh, okay.
So I thought so one way to explain Rhythm Heaven to people is if they played WarioWare, it's like WarioWare with music, basically.
Yeah.
But just maybe just slightly less frantic. Unless you're playing the game Munchie Monk, which is the one egg, that gets kind of crazy. They share a lot of DNA.
Well, that is interesting. And I'm glad I cleared that up because now I can sleep at night.
Yeah, I was gonna say earlier.
I've done a lot of stupid video ideas.
Just Janie wanted to also know if that was fake or not. Like if you just were recording that after, yeah.
No, it's literally one OBS scene, like with the camera and the game, and I just hit record, and it's like we're done.
Super impressive.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's get some server maintenance done. I just wanted to, I don't think we have any new reviews.
No, we don't.
There.
But that doesn't mean that there won't ever be new reviews because you can fix that. Listener or watcher, just give us a 5-star review of things that you like of the show and even things that you don't like of the show. Just make sure it's 5 stars, but you can tell all your friends and family and yeah.
Or go to other shows, give them a 5-star review and shout us out in the 5-star review like that one did on the Nintendo Powercast. So thank you. I forget who that was. I think it was Nintendo Lover something.
That's big brain.
So go do that on all the shows that you listen to and bring more over. But we also we're growing on YouTube, doing pretty well. We went from 144 subs to 162 subs in a week, and that's because I told everybody not to buy Assassin's Creed at launch.
Ooh. I would like to claim I'm not the most OG, but I think I was the 150th. I will give that out. So when you guys have made it big, I'll remember 150th.
And yeah, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know. My brain's like fried tonight.
I was going to say,
very slow.
You're doing good.
I'm burned out, man.
Remember to like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Do it.
Smash that like button. Yeah, I'll fill in for Johnny here. You can find us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, Error Podcast. And that's how you get onto the shows like community patch notes, episodes like this where you just leave your questions and comments and we may read them on the show.
Yeah, and I do have one final thing before we get into the notes. Daff, we always ask our guests, Super Mario World or Super Mario Bros. 3?
Oh my gosh. This one is extremely nuanced. But if I had to compress it down, I would say Super Mario World.
Yes. Another one.
It's tough. But
we gotta have a soundboard of DJ Khaled that says another one.
Another one. Now Super Mario Bros. 3 is my favorite NES Mario Bros. Almost obviously, right? But Mario World it's created so much more of a legacy, especially in the modding community and ROM hack community, because there are so many custom Mario World complete games, which is another huge streaming community that I started out with. And so I have a huge soft spot for Super Mario World, and shout out to everyone in the Mario World community because they are some of the most intense gamers I've ever seen or witnessed. They play some seriously hard Mario levels, and most of it is conceived from the Mario World framework. Mm-hmm. There are also hard levels for Super Mario Bros. 3, but just there's not as much of a framework for it or popularity for it. So that's my perspective on it. But Mario World, goated.
I'm losing this so far. We have only asked 2 people, and I forgot to ask Xanadude last week, but Xanadude's not a big Nintendo fan, So I'm just gonna chalk that one up to Super Mario Bros. 3. So it's 2-1.
No, wait a minute. Hold on.
There's no
all right.
wrong answer. There's no wrong answer.
If people are out there that like Super Mario Bros. 3 over World, let me know and I'll get you on the show so we can bump up the numbers a little bit. But okay, whatever.
Well, Husky, as a music lover, a World is better, right? For the music.
Oh yeah, dude. The piano theme. Classic.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, was that Koji Kondo? Did he do Mario World?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Legend. He honestly, a lot of my favorite gaming soundtracks do come from the Super Nintendo. Like that is an incredible sound chip that has just like stood the test of time. Like it's aged so well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to get into this?
Yeah, I mean that's the show. We should
YouTuber
get into
voice.
it.
Let's jump right into it, guys.
We're only 16 minutes in, and
Without
we're getting
further
to the.
ado, let's jump right into it, guys.
But so last week we talked about gamer burnout, and
Which I'm sorry, I feel like Johnny is burned out. I know he's burned out because of his job. So if it seems like we're a little slow this week, just blame Johnny. Put it in a 5-star review.
yeah. But so we talked about gamer burnout. Daph, what is your initial opinions on, I guess, the subject in general?
Sure. I think that I have been feeling a personal burnout, like in general from the gaming industry. I don't know if that necessarily translates to me feeling a burnout from playing games, because I do still play games. And I have games that I'm enjoying right now. But like there are a couple signs that point to me not caring as much about new releases lately, and it's one of the reasons why I became more of like a retro gaming focused person online, is because it just felt like a more reliable source of enjoyment for me, whereas trying to focus on new releases, I wasn't enjoying it as much. And I'm very picky on new game releases nowadays too. And I think a lot of that stems from either games being too big or just like completely out of my interest. Like just not in my taste, or I already have enough old games I want to play. So yeah, I definitely am kind of feeling that side of the burnout. And then the other side of it is that I am honestly like enjoying gaming the most I have in like this year and the past year. I've been enjoying gaming a lot more than maybe the past couple of years, but that's just because of like the way that I choose to enjoy games, like not the way the industry wants me to enjoy games by like buying every new release or like paying a battle pass subscription or, like live service games. I haven't really subscribed to live service games much. So I don't know. Where do you guys sit on all of that?
Well, I think it's very interesting that you brought up just that you're burned out in the games industry, because I think we talked a lot last week about just how people may be feeling burned out themselves just from playing games, or in like your case, someone who is a streamer and maybe playing the same game over and over. Like, do you get burnt out from that? But the fact that you brought up like just from the industry in general may be the problem that everybody is having. Like it's all the same. Like what we talked about, this was in our Discord, Foam Stars is like, it's a Splatoon like clone.
Right.
Or that's what it looked like. And then when you play it, it's more of like Apex. And
oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's a hero shooter.
I've only seen the trailers, but I didn't see the gameplay.
Yeah, it's a hero shooter. Like the colors are way too bright. But like it's just interesting where they're coming up with new IPs, but still trying to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. Like everybody wants to be Fortnite because it's worked so well, but they're just, you can't really copy what they do because that is Fortnite. Like that is live service gaming. So I think when it comes to that side of Burnout, it's also like you said, we're just kind of tired of what these developers are putting out or the lack of creativity on their side just because one game is doing well. Oh, well, let's do that too.
Yeah, it's become completely oversaturated at that point too, and expecting consumers to keep up with every new live service battle royale or like subscription game, even like the annual Call of Duties. Like I've actually been a Call of Duty fan for a long time, but I don't play the new Call of Duties almost ever anymore.
So
Because it's like you know.
did you
Yeah,
see?
John. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't played the beta of Modern Warfare 3, but I do think that they're bringing back a lot of the old maps, like old from like the 360 era.
Sure.
So like Terminal and I don't even know what.
And
some
you
of those
see,
other
like
maps
that's such a crutch for them too, because it's like, how many times are you gonna bank on nostalgia for your new game? It's like,
I don't
they've
know
done so many-
Nintendo.
No, you just made me feel very hypocritical.
Yeah, I can't
Because
wait. I
Nintendo
can't wait
does
to
it all
see
the time.
I can't wait for next week or a week and a half, and we're gonna see so much nostalgia pulls in that Mario
man.
game. 100%.
Yes, and I'm full blown excited for it. But Mario Wonder is a new game. They're not pulling old levels for the game unless
That we know of.
that we know of, right? I mean, they've done it in like Mario Galaxy where you go to Bob-omb Battlefield or whatever. But
And then the 8-bit, like the whole,
Yeah.
like Odyssey, there was a lot of nostalgia in Odyssey with the 8-bit levels. And Nintendo is the king of getting people to buy into nostalgia. And that's what sells a lot of their games is nostalgia. Like I bought Detective Pikachu and I haven't loaded it up. I probably won't load it up because it looks terrible.
it's rough around the edges, man. That one they really could have cooked in the oven a little longer.
I will say with Nintendo, like, yeah, they're good at, pulling at the nostalgia string, but I think they are able to do it while also adding something new to the gameplay or experience.
Yeah, and that also annoys the heck out of me because Nintendo has a philosophy of game design that we have to introduce something mind-blowingly new for a franchise to come back. And that has stopped so many good games from just allowing them to be themselves and trying to put in some kind of gimmick into it. And it also goes into kind of how Nintendo has treated DLC the past year or two. It's like, we want to churn this out slowly, the slow rollout DLC method. That's another side of Burnout for me, even from Nintendo, is the way they've been treating their DLC as just like, we're going to complete the game later. I know that's not like a new opinion, but like I think everybody's felt that as well.
Yeah, I guess not knowing behind the scenes of how development is working, because I imagine that most developers actually do finish the game and then the DLC comes later because they just need something more to it, or it's something that they had planned, but like the base game got finished. But also knowing that there's DLC to come is not necessarily saying like the game was unfinished. The game is finished, but we know that we need to add more to it. I don't know. Like I can't imagine that it's developers that are just sitting back and being like, "Nah, it's good enough. We'll add more later."
And I think, like, I don't think Nintendo has ever released like an unfinished game at launch necessarily this generation, but like I take Switch Sports for example. Like they drew that out for so long just to add like the most core sport, which was golf.
Yeah.
Like, why did
We
they
haven't
make
had
such a
anything
big
since.
Why did they make such a big deal out of that? Yeah, and then they abandoned the game, which of course, and I've never played Animal Crossing, but I know Animal Crossing fans. That's a confession. I've confessed this a couple times on stream. I've never played Animal Crossing, but I see the fan base from outside. Actually, the only Animal Crossing game I've played is the mobile app. I did play the mobile app.
Ooh,
that is not
just
the same experience.
Yeah, the worst experience you could get for Animal Crossing.
All right, well,
But
if you do choose to play Animal Crossing, do not dare to time travel because Cheesy will come after you.
Look, we're gonna talk about it
no.
because I have some comments that I got back.
Oh
on that,
no!
so
Oh, I can't wait.
we'll talk about it.
All right, yeah, let's talk about what our listeners are saying.
Yeah.
So this is on Spotify. You can leave comments on Spotify. I also have a poll on there that I'll bring up once we get to the Animal Crossing stuff. But it says, Joel says, I don't play enough to burn out. I think the article you found had good advice. If you're burned out on gaming, it's probably because you're looking to get out of it. Something can't give. If something can't give. So we pulled up an article last week about how to not get burned out, essentially. And one of them was like, just take a break or quit or try something else.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, just stop. Which all just seems like, general advice, but sometimes I think you need to be reminded of these kind of things. It's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this isn't really worth my time, and there's more important things than video games. So maybe I'll just either take a step back from the hobby, or I will just do something, find a new hobby for the meantime, because I'm just not feeling it right now.
I will say going outside and touching grass can
Gamers do that?
Listen, I'm not trying to go crazy on the gamers because I'm the worst offender of not touching grass. Okay, but like it could be worthwhile to like find an outdoor hobby or something outdoors. Like I love
it could be like too hot. It could be too hot or too cold. I like to be in my basement. It's pretty regulated with the temperature. It's not raining on me. There's no snow. Like, no.
I love playing like table tennis, which I could do on a video game too. But like,
you haven't you?
Yeah.
Did you do the Wii? The Wii play ping pong or whatever?
Yeah, I've done. Yeah. So if it's too hot outside, just play ping pong in the game. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like people play video games for personally sometimes different reasons, but like I think a lot of us play to escape our regular routine, our regular lives. But it can also just be on the other side of escapism. I think it could also be just like a time to refresh your mind or like to feel rejuvenated from a amazing experience. And so like I think it could also be like a restful, like a meaningfully restful time. And so my brain is tracking downwards. You guys take it from there.
Well, I do. So I don't understand personally. I don't understand people that could play games for 6 hours in a sitting. Like I don't think I've ever.
You don't think you've ever gotten too into a game where you just have zoned out and like that has been your day?
Well,
you've never done that?
Sometimes, like when Tears of the Kingdom came out, I kind of spent that whole midnight through like 8 a.m. playing pretty much. But I can't see myself doing that every day. Like that's just too much. Maybe, I can see playing an hour or two a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then that still leaves you with a lot of time that you could do other things. Like, you sleep for hopefully 8 hours. You, spend some time with your family for a few hours, then play games for a couple hours. I think a lot of people burn out because they're playing 6, 8, 10 hours a day.
I don't know if it's that or if it's like they don't have the time to play games because games are just so big today that the thought of sitting down and thinking about all the things you have to do to try to maybe get to the end is exhausting. And you're like, I'll just watch a show instead, maybe.
When a game starts to like ask for more commitment from you than your actual life, that's when burnout becomes immediate. And I think that's why one of my favorite games this year has been F-Zero 99. Okay. It's so you can join a race and be done in 2 minutes, or you can keep playing, or you can join another race. And it's like there is zero commitment to that game unless you choose to play more. But I think that's why a lot of people, and not just F-Zero, but like that's why a lot of people I think enjoy just matchmaking games like Overwatch or Valorant, or even less competitive games like Fall Guys, because it's fun to matchmake or have a social time with friends, which is sort of another aspect that people enjoy, to be able to hang out with their friends while gaming. Personally, I'm more of an introverted gamer. I like to spend my gaming time more alone, unless it's streaming. That's like the most social it gets for me usually. Is if I'm streaming, then sure, I'm sharing the experience. But like, I mostly play single player games. So in the case of on the case of online matchmaking games, it's like, yeah, it's like you can basically call the shot of like when you want to stop or start, and it doesn't affect like your commitment to like a save file or completion of the story or having to grind 30 hours to get some like all-time achievement or ending that you want. Like
back in the day, like back in the day on the NES when there were no save files, you had to beat the game from start to finish.
Right.
Yep.
Yes, that actually brings up a memory of one of the plug and play consoles I grew up with, which was like the Sega Genesis plug and play.
Nice.
No save files, but it had Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And so every playthrough of Sonic 2 was basically just Emerald Hill Zone. if I got past Chemical Plant Zone, then that was a good gameplay right there. Like you did well not to drown.
Well, I think you basically answered one of our questions. I'm kind of jumping a little bit, Johnny. From YouTube, we had a comment that was Wool is the Rune Knight said, I've got a question for you guys. Why do I get burnout after sitting for 2 hours in a single player game like Starfield, Final Fantasy 16? But I can hop on Fortnite or COD and play 8 hours straight. Is it chasing the battle pass, chasing the XP goals? But I think you pretty much answered that it's on your own time. You can jump in and out. It's not
But
it's
trying to push the narrative forward.
It's the same reason that somebody can spend like all day scrolling on TikTok, whereas you would only spend 2 hours or 4 hours watching Netflix. It's like you would think, and I mean I'm not saying you should do that, no, but it's like the commitment to watching a TikTok is so much less than the commitment to watching a movie or a TV series, that you're just not thinking about. You're not thinking about, oh, this is going to take an hour. You're just focused on the next match or the next TikTok, right? For example. And so it's less of a commitment on your mind as well. And I think that's just less stressful.
You're also just thinking, it's a 15-second TikTok. And then the next one's 15 seconds, and then you've wasted
now it's
an
more
hour
like
watching.
minute plus TikToks.
Yeah. In Johnny's case, it's a minute long.
Yeah, you gotta get that money, man. You gotta get that money.
Oh yeah, you gotta get that creativity program in action.
But I do think dopamine hits help with those types of games, like the matchmaking games. Like if you win a match, you're like, oh, I want to keep going. So you can I'm on a hot streak. I want to keep going. Or even if you lose, like, oh, I can't end it on a loss. So I think it's just different.
Right.
And Final Fantasy 16 is one of the most boring games I've ever played. So I don't. That's why you don't want to sit down and play that for longer than 10 minutes.
I like how you said it's the most boring, but then didn't give a reason why. You just said it's the most boring.
I've said this multiple times. It is too many cutscenes. It's a cutscene every 5 steps.
Oof.
And that's not even
Maybe-
exaggeration. That's not even exaggerating. That game is all cutscenes. It's like 10 plus hours of cutscenes.
Yeah, once you get that far into like just watching cutscenes, it starts to feel like, okay, I know you guys put in so many resources into making these awesome cutscenes, but like, you also got to respect my time as a gamer. I want to get in the game.
And they have like a good
game.
like the combat
Yeah.
system is fun. Like just let me play the combat system. Like that's all I care about.
I will say, and this is not to derail too much, but I'm actually still playing Tears of the Kingdom. I have not beat that game yet, which is should have done by now, but I think I still have like one of the temples to go to and then Ganon. But though I think that game is almost the opposite of the problem you're having with Final Fantasy, because like the story is almost completely optional for you to just run into.
That's why I love it so. That's why I love it so much.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I don't care.
For me, it's like I'm really intrigued by the Zelda story, and I love watching like collecting the memories, or watching like the snippets of story. I kind of hope in like the next iteration that they intertwine the story just a little bit more, or at least bring it back to like something chronological, because I don't like taking the effort to try to like discover the story in chronological order. Like I'm just gonna see snippets from like every random piece of the timeline. And it's like I would kind of like to see like a little more story direction than just like completely optional. Because that's why I love games like Undertale or like a bunch of indie projects that have really like engaging story and dialogue, but the gameplay speaks for itself, and like there's no like butting heads of the two. It's like they work in perfect harmony.
Yeah.
See, Undertale, I didn't really care about the story, but the gameplay of that game is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
don't
kind of it's a fusion of different genres, really.
And like you could choose to not kill any enemies. Like that's so cool. Like that's an actual option that you could run, where you just figure out like how to get past this enemy without attacking them. Like it was so interesting. I did enjoy that about Undertale, but the story, don't really care.
Yeah, I feel like, or go ahead, Cheesy.
I was just gonna say, like, I always go back to Celeste because you fail a lot in that game, but that is actually the point of the game. Is like you are going to fail, but if you keep trying and trying, you will reach the top of the mountain.
Dude, I'm so hyped that you brought that game up. That is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's so like that is a prime example of like the gameplay seething into the story, and it also becoming your own story as well. Like you feel such a personal attachment to climbing the mountain in Celeste, because like you've felt the struggle.
Yeah,
you've experienced the struggle. Yeah, and I think like Tears of the Kingdom, like I do wish it had a little bit more like leading the story, but I haven't finished the game, so I'm sure it has an epic conclusion. I don't know, but it kind of makes me think like, do we need games with like more interactive stories? Because I wonder if Zelda would benefit from that in the future. Like where do they even take the series from here? Because I think there's a side of the Zelda community that was already completely shut off and burnt out from Breath of the Wild. They were like, I don't want to do this whole open world thing. I have other open world games to play. I come to Zelda to experience dungeons and puzzles, but instead you're giving me giant open world. Like what are they gonna do to ever cater to that crowd again?
I think they just do remakes. Like because there's no way that Nintendo's like, all right, these are our best selling Zelda games ever, with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and like we're just gonna go back to our linear path. Like I don't think that's ever gonna happen. I think we're in this open world, open air or whatever they called it, era of Zelda from now on until it starts not selling.
Open zone.
Sonic. Yeah, that was Frontiers, right? Sonic Frontiers. Yeah. I think that maybe people got burned out on Tears of the Kingdom because 2017 was a different time, and that really is what like made Breath of the Wild was the fact that like we hadn't gotten an open world game like that before. Sure, we had open world games in the past, but they unlocked something that was so special, and then everybody was like, "Oh, we need an open world game." So then all of these games started coming out, and so then when you get to Tears of the Kingdom here in 2023, it's like, cool. I've done this before. I'm excited because it's what I wanted. I wanted more of, but at the same time, like I've played a lot of games like this recently that maybe because I just feel like that whole conversation just was here and it went, and it wasn't as big as Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, the conversation was a lot bigger in 2017, and the Breath of the Wild also had a huge influence on games coming out after that with the open world concept. And I think Tears of the Kingdom might have a smaller ripple on influence that maybe adds to the concept of like different elevated levels of, like sky and depths or whatever. I think we'll probably see more stuff like that.
I just think
it's like
I think this year is there's just too many games. There's like too many fantastic games that have come out and are still coming out. Like we're gonna have two of the biggest games come out in a week and a half with Spider-Man and Super Mario. And we've already had Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate, Resident Evil 4, Starfield. There's just so much this year that I think people are just kind of like either overwhelmed or they just there's just a lot.
It's like,
there's a lot.
There's too much to play, and I usually would never like complain about that. But I think it's because a lot of the games are the same or they're experiencing the same issues. Like we gamers don't have any problem with too many games. It's just the fact that they keep disappointing on some of these issues of just like design choices to be these massive commitments, or to release broken games, or to release games that require you to pay a monthly fee, or I've talked about the battle pass stuff already, but that
it adds to it.
Yeah. Or even just to pay just the online for PlayStation Plus or Game Pass, or it's all. And you can get to the Game Pass discussion too, because I still am not even a Game Pass subscriber. Like I don't have a PS5 or a Series. So I'm like not even like really like a full step into the current gen. And I think a part of that for me is just because I know those games will be there when I'm ready for them. But I don't feel the need to rush in right away, because like being an early adopter of the PS5 has kind of shown like not to bear a lot of fruit lately. Like a lot of PS5s I feel like are collecting dust. Yeah. It's like I feel like for me it's like all the games coming out this year, I'm excited to play next year. That's it. Like hopefully if games just stop coming out, you're going to have a great backlog.
I do think Game Pass is fantastic. I've been a subscriber for 5 or 6 years now, I think. I just played Lies of P on it. I actually beat a game. It's a very good game. I enjoyed
Johnny
it
beat another game. Everybody
beat another game. It's like
him.
5 this year. But it has introduced people to so many indie games that they might not have, thought of taking a look at. Hades was on there. Vampire Survivors is on there. Celeste, I think, was on there. Like, there are so many good games that people probably wouldn't even check out, but since it's on Game Pass, they're like, I'm just gonna download this.
Totally. It's one of the best. It's one of the more consumer friendly options right now, for sure. Even if I don't know, when a lot of these services are starting to get price hikes, but and that's another.
And Phil Spencer said that it will eventually get, especially when they acquire Activision and they have all those Call of Duty games, like there's definitely going to be I know it's going to get a price hike, and I'll still be there paying for it. I'm in a fortunate situation that I can do that, but I know some people can't. I was just thinking about something for Game Pass.
PlayStation Plus just hiked their prices too, right?
Yeah, and that was $80 a year
out of nowhere.
That's a PlayStation move. It's like, we're PlayStation. Yeah. You're gonna pay. Yeah. You're gonna pay it. So
exactly. So it's like a lot of people just scratch their heads or forget about it, or like some people will have to cancel it, and it's like, that's just gonna, more people are gonna continue to be cut off the more prices hike or the more the economy recesses. Like that's all gonna play a big part into the gaming industry and like how consumers spend money on games. It's like, I'd rather just keep the games that I have.
I saw a post where somebody said like, "Oh, I pay $15 a month for Game Pass, and I haven't played a game for like, the only game I played is like Vampire Survivors for 3 months." And I commented saying, "Well, Vampire Survivors is worth $15 a month on its own." Like,
that's nice, yeah. And that's like a $5 game.
It's a $5 game, yeah. It's a $5 game. Anyway.
Wow. We don't deserve developers who make amazing games for $5.
I will promote Vampire Survivors till the day I die.
Put it on the tombstone.
It's like every episode now is Vampire Survivor mentioned.
Yeah, like screw Gamefly. Gamefly's out the door. We're not trying to get a sponsorship from Gamefly anymore. We're trying to get Vampire Survivors to notice us.
Yeah.
I think Daft, like what you're feeling is like you don't feel FOMO because you're not really in the current gen, like what you were saying, but there are people that do have FOMO. Turtley on Discord said, the gamer burnout side, I personally don't get too much FOMO, so I just purchase what I really want to play. I also only have a Switch, and if there isn't any good things out at the time, you can just watch TV or maybe play a special game that you really enjoy. So it is interesting because even as gamers, like we put ourselves in this position of like, oh, I got to play this game. I got to play this game so I can talk about it. If you're a content creator too, like you want to talk about the latest thing and kind of be in that circle of like what everybody is talking about. But we put that on ourselves where we don't have to feel burnout. We can skip the game. I know that's a crazy idea, but
no.
You can though.
No, I needed Detective Pikachu. I needed Detective Pikachu.
And you haven't even played it. So what are you doing with it?
I'll get it eventually.
Made content with it.
I made a video about it.
Oh, did you?
You're like SpongeBob out of water.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand, and I 100% have a problem. Like, that's on me. I buy games. Like, I bought Borderlands 3 on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Is that native or is it cloud?
It's native. It's native.
I'd be interested to try that because I feel like that took a big leap from Borderlands 2 as far as graphical fidelity.
Borderlands 2 runs really well on the Switch. I played a lot of that. And that was a 360 game. I haven't tried Borderlands 3 yet, but there was some weird debacle with the box. Like the box said you need 62 gigabytes to download.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
But it's actually, the game's like 23 gigabytes, so that was just wrong. It's weird.
Oh, weird. Does it come with like the DLC maybe?
Yeah, it comes with the DLC. No, that includes the DLC.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. So if you're thinking about getting Borderlands and you don't have an SD card, you don't need one, but it is still 23 gigabytes, so you're not going to be having that many games on your system.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just that dedicated to on-the-go Borderlands. Well, at that point, get a Steam Deck. I mean...
Whoa, no, we don't talk. We don't bring that up here. You buy another Switch before you get a Steam Deck.
I don't own a Steam Deck, but I just look from the outside and I think that could be good one day.
I do want to.
Yeah, you've thought about it?
I will say the one thing that convinces me the most is that I already have like a pretty hefty Steam library. And so I've already got all the games I could want to play on a Steam Deck. So that's kind of like, and that's a great marketing pool for Valve, is that it's like you have all your games already here, and you know, the more they make them deck verified, I think that would convince me more. But I feel like I would wait like a couple of years until maybe they get the next generation of it out.
Yeah, that's what I think. I've almost pulled the trigger on one for a few times, and I've always decided not to. I don't really have that many games on Steam. I would just want to play Elden Ring in handheld mode. Like, that's all I would really want to do. But yeah, I don't see myself using it that much right now. And I'm hoping that like the next Switch is just going to be as powerful, or more powerful than the Steam Deck, and they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and me personally, I am not much of a handheld or on the go gamer anymore. I 99% of the time use my Switch in docked mode. So for me, looking at the Switch successor, I really hope that they deliver on the docked mode, assuming it's going to be another handheld, and that they don't like. I mean, you have to make compromises for a hybrid console, but I really hope the compromises are not extreme to where, because Nintendo they love to just like cut on graphics, man. Like they never prioritize graphics in their lives.
I mean, some of their games look really good. I do think their games look really good.
Yes,
they're not hyper realistic, except for Pokemon. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's off on a whole nother tangent.
I did want to add this question is from No Less Guy. He says, I want to know what games have helped y'all get out of gaming rut in the past.
Do you have one, Husky, that you can think of?
For me, it was discovering the Rhythm Heaven series, and also just kind of discovering this new age of rhythm games. Because for me personally, I've grew up as a drummer. I've played drums and enjoyed music for the longest time, but I'd enjoyed rhythm games like Guitar Hero and Dance Dance Revolution back in their heyday. So I'm a big rhythm game fan, but not as much like in recent years. I mean, I still do, and there's so many great rhythm games out there that I've played. But I'd never really streamed rhythm games before, and so when I discovered Rhythm Heaven, it really like unlocked another section of like my personality to where I was like, oh wow, this really goes hand in hand. And then just seeing like the creativity on Rhythm Heaven on display, like there is so much humor and fun and just lighthearted creativity that I really enjoy just experiencing, enjoying music soundtracks from that game. So yeah, I played those like 100 times. And then this year, more recently, it's the one that caught me off guard is F-Zero 99. I think that game has been extremely joyful for me. And that comes from two sides. One, from nostalgia, because I did happen to grow up with the original F-Zero on the Super Nintendo. I actually have the cartridge that my parents bought somewhere in this room. So like for that, there's a huge nostalgia connection to F-Zero, but also just like the way they completely turned that game into a battle royale. Like it's the best 99 game they've made. It makes like, I don't even care about Pac-Man 99 going away when they did that. It's like, yeah, you made me forget. Congratulations, Nintendo. You made me forget that you deleted Pac-Man 99 and brought F-Zero 99 to the forefront. The same way you deleted Mario 35 and brought Pac-Man 99. It's just a cycle. But yeah.
How many wins do you have?
I have 11 wins in F-Zero 99. Yeah.
Wow. Yes. I have 9. Johnny, how many do you have?
25.
You have 0.
Whoa.
I mean, I don't play the game. Like I've mentioned this before. I don't really like it, just because I don't want to lose all the time. I don't want to lose all the time. It's not I'm not in a spot right now where I want to lose all the time. Maybe after October 15th, I'll pick it up again. But I don't want to waste my time losing.
You just finished Lies
it's
of
about
P.
losing. Okay.
But I beat it though.
Yeah, but how many times did you lose in Lies of P?
Well, you don't really lose. You just
but you
live, die, repeat. It's a live, die, repeat.
Right.
But like
that's F-Zero.
there is, but you can learn. But you can learn. There's a pattern to the bosses. There's patterns to the enemies. You can't really do that in F-Zero because
there's
like
strats.
It's all random.
Chaotic. It's chaotic.
But yeah, it's definitely a lag too. I should have won like 6 or 7 times in the lag.
I've not experienced any lag on that game, which is surprising. Like it runs really well for having 99 people racing at a time and on one screen. Like I think they really found their magic there.
Yeah, the only time I've experienced lag is if I'm going off the skyway and there's like a bunch of racers below me. Sometimes it'll stutter a moment, but either that or Nintendo is just like really good at concealing the lag, I think. And they've had much laggier games. I'm talking about Super Mario Maker 2 versus mode. That was a PowerPoint presentation of a matchmaking game, which I think is also why they didn't bring that back for Mario Wonder. And you can only see your silhouettes of other people or like in the background, but you can't actually like interact with them.
Yeah. There's
no collision. But they, you can like leave the signs or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Nintendo, yeah, they always dance around the online connectivity. But F-Zero 99, I think it's a fun experience for people who grew up with the game, but it's also a great introduction to new fans of F-Zero, which I'm sure there are a lot of. And I agree, I have been quite addicted to the game the past couple of weeks. Like I try to put in like a good amount of time every weekend when they're doing the 30 minutes Grand Prix rotation. And I think they could improve the game by making the Grand Prix either like more often or I think the ticket system is kind of dumb to have to grind for tickets. If you run out of tickets and you're trying to get into a Grand Prix, it's like, what's the point? But it is kind of like that matchmaking mentality, almost like a Call of Duty mentality for me going on F-Zero, because I like grinding to unlock all of the skin colors for the different vehicles, like all the different achievements and medals and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm actually hooked on that one.
Johnny, do you have a game that you can think of that got you out of Burnout?
Super Mario Bros. 3. No, but I do whenever I can't. Whenever I don't feel like playing anything else, I do pick up like a Mario game, because those are always quick and easy to pick up. They're always good. They're always fun. Like I was even playing some new Super Mario Bros. U, and I know people aren't the biggest fans of that game, but it's still a Mario game, so it's still good.
Yeah,
got the acorn.
Yeah, the acorn is probably the weakest of all the suits, right?
I mean, it's got the high twirl jump, man. I mean, that's that's underrated. It's underrated.
Yeah, I sound like a broken record on this podcast, but like Hades definitely got me out of some Burnout, and mostly just through word of mouth. Like everybody was talking about Hades and how good it was, and then it got nominated, and it was, I think, the only indie game that got nominated for Game of the Year that year. And I was like, all right, I gotta try this out and see. And it was so much better than what I even expected, which wasn't a lot, but like music and voice acting and just gameplay, and that was another one that I've spent a lot of time on and just kind of got lost in the zone. I loved that game, and that was like my first roguelike too, so I didn't really even know what that was. So I like discovered a whole new genre, and that was fun for me. Yeah.
Roguelites have kind of taken a whole new path into like the 2D platform genre as well, like Hollow Knight and games that are heavily revered now. I feel like
every indie game is a roguelike. pretty much.
Yeah.
Every new
or
one.
Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you had a question coming up.
Yeah. We had Flea who wrote a
Flea caught
comment.
up. Flea caught up.
Flea caught up, and I want to say like thank you to Flea. They were a listener who came in. I don't even know what episode, but they went back and started all the way from the beginning and are caught up to now be like participants in communication or community patch notes episodes. So thank you, Flea. Flea said, I agree with Johnny that content creators get put into a box, and I'm not a content creator, but I am a content consumer, and I'm sure I am part of that problem. For example, I may discover new content creators based solely on a particular game I'm looking up and looking for content for, and I may follow that creator because of that game, but if they move away from that game, I'm not really invested in them as a creator, so I'll often unsubscribe or just stop consuming their content. Conversely, there are very few creators I follow because I'm invested in them. And if they bounce around to different games, there will be some of their content that I just won't watch/consume because I'm not interested in that content. And this concept has kept me from wanting to be a content creator because I could never decide whether I wanted to be more of a variety streamer and have very few diehard loyal fans, or stream only a particular type of content and burn myself out on it once I was ready to move on to a different game. It's a tough line to walk, I think. All that said, I'm invested in you guys and your content, so I'll probably be here for a while. Well, thank you, Flea.
Awesome.
But have you felt that kind of pressure being a streamer? Because I started watching your streams, I think, when you were doing like challenges. You had a lot of challenges that you were doing at the time.
Yeah,
for,
probably like Wii games, right? Like
Yeah.
Wii Sports, Wii Play.
Yeah.
I was big into those like the summer of 2022. And that's a really vulnerable comment from Flea. I think that is so true for many viewers who may not even realize their own behavior, but for you to understand that behavior is like really mature, I think. And that's like a lot of the experience I've had firsthand from switching games is you will lose some of like your hardcore guys, or like, because I've done it a couple times. And the place I started as a streamer was playing Super Mario Maker 2. And that was a community that was, and still is, like, shout out to my Mario Maker family. Like, they are a family on Twitch. Like, they are probably still one of the most connected communities on Twitch, just for the community that it breeds, which is creativity of levels and skilled gamers, and like there's a lot of different facets. But I didn't realize how lucky and spoiled I was to be there when I was, because when I switched from playing Mario Maker, it was like starting over, dude. Like, I still had friends, like especially the streamers in the Mario Maker community, but like Mario Maker viewers watch Mario Maker streams. And so switching over to different content was a challenge. But what I found, and maybe this just comes from experimenting, because I experimented with many different games that just I would stream once and say, okay, that didn't work, or I didn't enjoy that. I've done that with many different games. And then until finally I found something that worked and that I could recreate, which was doing challenges of certain Wii games and trying to grind either like the highest level I could get, like for Wii Tanks, for example. Yeah. I got a ton of new viewers from playing Wii Tanks because it targeted a level of nostalgia, especially for gamers around like their 20s or early 30s who had a bunch of nostalgia for the Wii, whereas before I was catering to probably a slightly younger audience with like Splatoon content. And I feel like the younger audience jumps around a lot more, to where a lot of my viewers who have stuck around between when I've switched games have actually come from when I was doing those challenges in the Wii games. So I would say like ultimately you just have to allow viewers to come and go, and you can't take it personally. Like you're a content creator, you're not their friend. You are there to serve entertainment, and if people show up, that's cool. And if you want to make friends making content, that's great too. I'm not saying you can't make friends being a content creator or be friends with your chat, but like you can't take it personally. And I think that's the problem a lot of small streamers fall into, is they start to expect that their viewership's going to be retained, or that if it's going up, it's going to keep going up. Like I only recently got partnered on Twitch last year, and since I had that viewership spike for being able to get Twitch partner, like it's actually dipped the opposite direction since then. And I think a lot of that comes from either playing too many different games or not playing the same game enough. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I've had to sacrifice a little bit of my sanity for not playing the same game every stream.
Yeah.
And you know, for some viewers, it's take it or leave it. If you're able to play the same game or like style of game every stream and it's working for you and you enjoy it, take it and run. You know, I think that's incredible. Like for you to be in that position. And I think like the position I've tried to set myself in recently is to definitely like lean into some sort of niche, but also keep the variety aspect as well, and allow viewers to enjoy the stream for you, and to allow them to get to know like your personality, and maybe just like the way you run your streams, or like the fun things you do to interact with your community. Like I think those should be the reasons like that consumers stick around for your content, because they want to see like how you enjoy a game, or how good you are at a game. It doesn't have to be about skill. But for some of my viewers, it is about like, wow, he's so good at rhythm games. When it's like you just think that, but it's fine because I've been doing it for a long time. But yeah, it's like find the things that you're good at and just like see where it takes you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about this last week about kind of being put in a box based on the games that you're playing, and I even find myself as a viewer doing it, and like I've been watching Liza P streams because I've been playing it, but then I saw the one streamer that I've been watching, he played something else like Elder Scrolls the one night, and I'm like, oh well, I guess I'll watch a different stream. So I understand it. It doesn't feel good on like from
the creators
creators like point of view. It doesn't feel great when, say, one night you have 20 viewers and the next night you have 5. Like it doesn't feel great, but I do understand, and I don't want people to feel guilty for not doing it, because I do the same thing. But I do think that's why I don't really stream, because I can't get myself to play the same thing every night or do the same thing every stream. It's just not fun for me. I burned out. I literally burned out on that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was there in the Johnny stream heyday. I feel like a little bit like I think the first time I saw you stream, you were doing the Mario DS games.
Yeah. Those were that was fun. Like those were fun, and I saw a lot of growth. People loved
like
Luigi Poker.
Like Luigi Poker.
Luigi Poker. Yeah, like that was a good time. And I've seen people streaming it recently. I haven't done it, but I've seen people playing Luigi Poker on TikTok, and I wonder if like I sparked that. But yeah, that was fun. I just like there's only so much Luigi Poker you could play, or there's only so much wanted that you can play. Like N64 Josh, me and N64, well, N64 Josh was doing the wanted mini game, and he's like, yeah, you should just do it. You should just do what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And then yeah, it helped me as well. But then I'm like, now I feel guilty. I don't want to be like stealing Josh's spotlight. But so that's why I chose Luigi Poker. But yeah, it's still a mini game. Like it's not even a main game. It's just a mini game of a game.
Which, to be fair, your audience that probably was watching it is younger, and that is the type of games that they like to play these days. Is just little mini games, you know.
Yeah, and I have thought about bringing it back, doing some type of streams like that.
Yeah.
But I like when because I will come back eventually. I don't know when. When I come back, it's gonna be on my own terms. I'm gonna have a plan as to what I'm gonna stream, or you know, I'm not gonna let people persuade me to just do what they want me to do. I'm just
and that's totally valid. I've taken months plus long breaks from streaming, and actually, it was the first break I've taken since getting partnered was this summer. I think I streamed once in the month of June, and that was peak burnout for me after the whole sensation of playing One Egg on TikTok, which was an incredible surge of growth for me. And if there's anything that I take away from that, it's the connections I made from that, and actually meeting other streamers who were kind of inspired to take on the same challenge. So like I have friends who I keep in contact and mutuals with on TikTok who also play Rhythm Heaven, which I think is really one of the greatest things that came out of that.
So
but
I have a question for you. Do you think the burnout came because you were pushing to get that partner badge, and then once you got it, you're like, you know, I achieved my goal? Like the reason I'm bringing this up is because I have been working at my job for years. And I was working to get a promotion. I finally got a promotion this year, and now I'm just like, I could care less. Like I couldn't care less about this job.
Yeah. I will say before.
Well, wait. Before you answer that, is it also with how many times you had to listen to one egg, handful of peas? Because you did that for like a 6-hour stream or something, right? Right? Like, how did you not get burned out from that?
I did 4 hours straight with no breaks.
I mean, like just hearing that over and over again. Yeah. How did you not burn out, or did you?
So there's two different questions in there. I'll start with Johnny's question, which is how did you feel before getting Twitch partner and after getting Twitch partner? I would say before getting partner, it definitely was like that kind of the cliche streamer goal is to have that purple badge next to your name for a lot of people, and even like for viewers that it may be kind of like it might elevate a first impression just to see a purple check mark on Twitch, which is kind of not the case other places like on TikTok or YouTube. People don't really care as much. Like it's a totally different system, and I think the Twitch partner check mark is kind of lost a lot of its value, quote unquote. But after getting it, I did feel incredibly like accomplished, but I also understood that it was incredibly lucky, and that there were streamers who average lower than me that deserved it more than I did. And so there was like the imposter syndrome side of it, where it was like, okay, this isn't really they shouldn't have given this to me. They should have rejected it, right? Like this is a mistake. But also like it also gave a sense of peace as yeah, I am going to take things slower now. Like I did grind, like playing a lot of the same stuff, keeping the same meta to get to that partner badge. And then I did kind of slow down after I got it. And yeah, I would say like I definitely stayed motivated, but very slowly, as I also at the same time I got partner, I also started working full time again. And so those two hand in hand slowly kind of altered my stream schedule to not as consistent as before. And I had to start taking a couple days off streaming to be able to not burn out from work and everyday life. And yeah, it all kind of culminated to burnout. And then to Cheesy's question about listening to One Egg all the time, I will say like it definitely got to me a little bit, but I actually I have a method of playing what do you call it? Repetitive games. And it's just like entering like your zone or your flow state. Like it's almost a method of meditation for me to be able to completely be absorbed in the task that I'm doing. And just like you kind of like,
You don't
with
even
one-
think about it.
Yeah.
It just happens.
yeah, like with one egg, like you, like after you're playing for a couple hours, like you almost enter like a daydream state where you're just kind of doing it in the background, but your subconscious is just kind of racing. And like it, I don't know. I think for me, that's how that works. It's the same thing I've done with other ridiculous challenges, like the We Play table tennis, where I played table tennis on We Play up to 999 points, which is the maximum you can earn. That was like one of my proudest things, but like you can't do that if you're not prepared for like serious repetition and grind. And you also have to be able to face your own failure, because you're the only reason that you'll fail if the game ends. Unless your remote battery dies, which I haven't gotten far enough for that to happen.
God.
I think that's the next challenge. Play until it dies.
Yeah. Once that happens, it's dead. Like But I actually the last record I got in one egg was in like the end of December. So like I haven't even cracked a new record of my own since the end of last year, and I've played it like once or twice again. But I think there was also a viewer burnout to it as well, because it's kind of the nature of any content trend. Like I think it rode a really good wave, but like the wave has definitely settled, and it'd be interesting to see if another creator, another streamer who discovers it for the first time like I did, if it would have the same impact as it did for me. Who knows? Because I've actually seen a lot of new streamers on TikTok who play Rhythm Heaven and get kind of the same engagement from that I experienced when playing it, because TikTok has good discoverability and people see the games they like. Yeah, there's actually a pretty good following base for certain games. Some games I wish had a TikTok following, but they just don't. Like I would.
Splatoon.
Yeah, the
Nintendo in general.
Yeah, Nintendo in general, like there is like a retro gaming community on TikTok, but it's mostly more catered to like I feel like it's more catered to collecting than actually streaming retro games.
I see a lot of Kaizo.
There is the Kaizo community for like Mario, and I follow a lot of those guys on there for sure. That's kind of like, but I would consider that like a sub niche of like a bigger group,
Yeah, I was talking to my wife about streaming earlier and just thinking about like how you are still streaming, because out of Johnny and I, and you here, you're the one that is streaming the most. And I know that Johnny and I have both kind of talked about like, yeah, we'll get back to it, or we will do it. And I like streaming, but I've just have noticed that I like podcasting more, and I'm so grateful that Johnny and I have this podcast, because I get to actually talk to somebody else. Like when you are streaming, you do have the chat, right? And they can kind of bring that energy, but it's not the same as like talking to another person, or even, if you're up on stage and you have the audience in front of you, that's a different kind of energy as well.
Yeah.
Like I think of it as like a 4-hour stand-up show, because you have to be entertaining, but you also don't know if the crowd is liking what you're doing. You don't know if it's hitting. Man. You don't know if you're hitting, like if it's something that you should be doing more of, because you just can't hear them. They might try to like encourage you a little bit in the chat, but it's like
talking to a
hard
wall.
one to figure out. Yeah,
that's interesting, and I'm glad that the podcast has been really fruitful for you, and I think that's awesome. I've never done podcasting before. This is actually the first podcast I've guested on as well. So
wow.
No way.
Popping that cherry. Cool. Wait, is that?
Yeah.
Do I have to mark this as explicit now?
No.
Oh, you're good. But I will say something that not a lot of people know about me is I also I hosted a college radio show for 8 semesters before anything to do with streaming, and that was just 2 hours a week. I did a radio show with some buddies, and it was some buddies the first semester, and then I met another friend who is now a longtime friend who we duoed the radio show for like 7 of the 8 semesters basically. And if there were any recordings of those, it would be so embarrassing, but like that was kind of where I learned to like talk into a microphone and know nobody, right?
Mhm.
Like we might, like when I had a host with me, we would banter, but you're ultimately like you're talking to an audience that you can't see. And even with a host, like it was challenging, to kind of overcome some of that, just kind of like getting off the training wheels and just being able to have more confidence in your voice, and even just like enunciating words. Like people take for granted the practice and control it takes to just be able to talk into the mic.
It's fascinating, and now I kind of want to do this topic on the show about how content creation and streaming kind of they add skills to your everyday life that you don't even think about. Because
absolutely, yes.
Ever since I've been making content, like I'm more confident, like at my actual job, to be more outspoken, to not just not be in the background as much because of all the comments that I get thrown my way, and it's
for me. I feel like I have the opposite problem because I don't work with anyone. Like if I do, it's like little meetings here and there, and then you just do your own thing. And that's how I felt with like streaming as well, is it's very isolating, and content creation in general can be very isolating. But when I am able to talk to people and get out, like I think I'm a little bit of an awkward talker at times. But if I can also just have a conversation with Johnny, like what I'm doing now, it's refreshing. That's not the right word, but it's just nice to feel that comfort, I guess, of like, oh my God, there's somebody else I can finally talk to. And maybe my mouth isn't working correctly because I haven't talked to anyone in a while, but like I'm so happy I get to have this moment right now.
Definitely. And it's nice to have feedback from someone and have immediate feedback from someone to be able to bounce off of. And when you're streaming, you've got to figure out how to be okay with like dead air or having a dead chat, or being able to kind of talk to yourself at first. Like it's definitely, and for me, like the very first time I went live for streaming, I basically invited my brother to the stream to sound test for me, and then I ended up just kind of like talking to him during the stream, and it was like, yeah, if you're trying to start to stream and you're like, yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to just invite somebody. On the other side of that, you be careful if you're streaming and you're gaming with your friends and just talking in your headset.
Yeah,
because then it's really easy to actually ignore somebody who comes in, and that's another side of streaming where it's like if you're trying to get an audience and you're not talking to your chat, then it's like, what are you?
Yeah, so I think at some point we're gonna have a conversation about content creation, and because I'm fascinated by that. I know we have a couple creators that listen to this, and I know probably our listeners will even be interested. We are running a little long, but I did want to point out, we might not get to all these comments, but I wanted to point out one comment because I really liked it, and you're gonna find out why. So this is from DVD Collector.
Oh boy, here we go.
He says, this podcast, thank you so much for what you do. I've been here since day one, but the last 2 topics were so good. I forget what was before this.
Well, I want to also, because I just made that comment like, here we go, DVD Collector, but that's not what it was. I just know what the comment is and why I don't want to hear it, but Johnny does. All right, continue.
All right. Yeah, I forget what the one before this was, but
it was the game journalism.
Okay, yeah, okay. You found your stride. Burnout, yeah, it can be bad. I get burnout when I have to grind and feel like I have to get through a game to get to the next. The pandemic didn't affect me at all. Like I've said before, I work in a prison, so I had to be at work every day. For me, after a long day at work, a game is what I need. Dealing with inmates all day for the last 25 years is burnout. I can understand that. I started Luigi's Mansion 3 again with a slow playthrough until Mario at the end of the month. Well, that and Vampire Survivors. Everybody play Vampire Survivors. I always try to do 2 games at a time, even if the second game is older, like Mario Kart, so that if I get in a place that I start to feel burnout, I can just change for a day or so. Great episode. And Cheese saying Animal Crossing isn't a chore game is like saying Mario World is better than Mario 3. Both wrong.
There. That's why.
And growing up, if you could have time traveled through your chores, you would have, and you know it. Remember, life is short.
So, all right, I do, because like we didn't really talk about Animal Crossing, and that's fine. We don't have to. I love Animal Crossing, but I think that is part of the reason that I have such a hard time with people time traveling. But again, do what you want. And I have learned through some of the comments, like somebody, I think it was Gothram, who mentioned like they have a night shift. And so they wouldn't be able to play the game because Nook's Cranny would be
you put that late night thing on.
That wasn't in New Horizons, was it?
I think it is. Yeah. No, I think it is. No, I think it's in New Horizons as well.
All
so
right.
Gotham, stop time traveling. You cheater.
No, I don't know. As a chore simulator, like it didn't used to be that.
It has always been a chore simulator. Now I know DaftHusky has not played it, but
yeah,
all you do in that game is you get out of bed and then do chores, and that's it.
You get to live your day the way that you want to. So you could go fishing, you could go digging for fossils, you could go collect seashells. But in New Horizons, and I would even argue like New Leaf, because you were the mayor, so you had to like do things for your citizens and try to make the town better. New Horizons really took it a step further with Nook points and all of the little check mark things that you would have to do. And that's what made it like a chore simulator. It's
always been a chore simulator. It's always been a chore.
It hasn't been though.
But you have to dig up 2 fossils a day so you can put them into your museum.
You don't have to.
Yes, because if you want to complete your museum, like there's only a few things you can do in that game.
I will say this is a stretch. This is a stretch, but the way you describe Animal Crossing, and it's like I know what Animal Crossing is. I've seen the game. I watch gameplay, but like the way you just described it almost felt to me like Stardew Valley in a way, which is like, you know, the whole farm sim thing, right? And I have played Stardew Valley. It's a different genre than Animal Crossing maybe, but I think Stardew Valley is a chore simulator. Like I can't do just the same grind and repeat every day kind of game where it's like I do that in real life already. So maybe that's why
that is Animal Crossing. There's not much do essentially do the same thing every day.
Yeah, it's like I think I know in my head like that's probably one of the reasons I haven't checked it out yet is because I'm not interested in just the day and night cycle of having to keep up with all this stuff. And I know in New Horizons it's like you can terraform and get creative. It's like I don't have a lot of creativity to spend. Like I just want to turn my brain off.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think you can make the argument because Names Jer said to play devil's advocate, don't you think people are using time travel because they're experiencing burnout? And that could be the case. Sure. But I also think that maybe people got burned out on Animal Crossing because they do time travel and they're going after all of the items and everything that you're supposed to wait for. I know waiting isn't really like the thing that people do, or they don't have patience, or, you know, you're just wanting to have the thing first, right? We've talked about that too, where it's like, oh, I got to be the first one to have this. I got to be the first one to put this content out. But Animal Crossing, like at least from the developer's side, the developer made Animal Crossing because they were moving, and moving was very scary for them, and they wanted to feel like they could go into a game that they could escape into a life that is more comfortable for them. And
But here's the thing: nobody cares about what developer, why they made that game. They just want to play the game.
sometimes, man, you say stuff on here that is just so heartbreaking from a.
But I'm just a realist, right? Nobody cares about that. Like maybe 1% of players would care about that.
But like, I don't know. I guess for me, sometimes I think about, if the developer had this in mind, maybe the gamer should also have it in mind.
The developer had play as you want to play in mind.
I will say, whatever I can weigh in on this is that from experience both in the Mario Maker community, which has broken that game to pieces in ways that are super creative and Nintendo hates. Mm-hmm. Like you can create a super creative level that, like this year there was last year, was it last year? This year. No, that was this year. At Games Done Quick, they showcased Super Mario Maker 2 and a teleportation glitch that is literally like the coolest level trick that uses a glitch in the level creator that lets you like literally just zoom to another part of the screen, and it's like you don't even see how it works. It's off screen, but it's like there's so much like engineering wizardry you can do with that game. Nintendo point of view is that's not how we designed the game to be played. And they'll usually like ban or delete levels that include glitches or troll content that goes off the rails. And then, but like, I feel like from my perspective also, like there is like the community of speedrunners that really changed a lot of my perspective in gaming, where before I discovered speedrunning, I didn't realize how broken games are, or like how much gamers take matters into their own hands to play the game they want to play it. Even like with time traveling in Animal Crossing, like I don't know if people speedrun Animal Crossing. That sounds really boring to me. But
there's a hardcore mode.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, if they do speedrun it, I feel like there's probably, I wouldn't see why whether there wouldn't be time traveling, because it just gets you closer to your goal. But it's almost like, do you prefer efficiency or immersion? Which, and I think most of the time I choose efficiency.
Cheesy's just a party pooper.
For what? For time traveling?
Yeah, for time traveling. Just let people live their lives.
Yeah. And that's fine. Like, we can play games differently. Life is short, as you said last week. He was trying to say life is short, but it came out as short.
That's the new catchphrase. Okay.
Yeah. But like, it made me think about how I made a TikTok at one point about Smash Bros. And how it's a party game and not a fighting game. And people got so upset about that because Sakurai has said it's a party game, not a fighting game. And like, I'm someone that likes to play with items, and I don't want to do Omega stages.
You just gotta get good.
Yeah, that is part of it, honestly, because I'm much better when I have items. But if somebody was like, just because it started as a party game doesn't mean that it can't turn into a fighting game. And at this point, it is a fighting game. And it was like, they also brought up the creator of GIF pronounces it GIF and not GIF. And I mean, that bothers me, but like we've changed it, right? Or at least, I don't know, I say GIF.
Yeah, GIF is canon.
GIF.
Yeah, so even though it started as GIF, like we have just made it GIF. So like, yeah, people are going to play games differently. I do think that like what Daft was saying is like, if you are trying to speedrun Animal Crossing, I just don't.
Maybe rethink your. I'm just kidding.
No, I just like.
Hey, it could be cool. I don't know.
I just don't understand from.
I'm gonna look it up.
I don't understand like why you would play Animal Crossing in that way. But just Janie actually said that she wouldn't play Animal Crossing if she couldn't time travel. So like, I don't know. Everybody's gonna get something differently.
but, I mean, if you don't time travel, you're
experience.
playing like 10 minutes a day, and that's not worth your time.
Oh, so it's like a kind of check-in type of game. You just do
Yeah, it's
your
like you
test
get
and
your
then check out.
fossils, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
But isn't that what people do anyway? Like, kind of going back, like, if we're just going to circle this whole conversation, isn't that what people are doing today? Is like checking in to get their points for their battle pass, and then they leave, and then they go into the next game. Like, that is
Yeah, but they can
kind of
play,
what
but
Animal
it's
Crossing
not
is,
like
but
10
in a way
minutes.
that
It's
you
not
could
like
like
10 minutes. It's
in
like
a way that you could just take your time with it and have a game that you could check into every day. These are the characters that you could visit and want to visit. You know, like, I think that is what for me is special about Animal Crossing, is like I get to go and see these friends that I've made, or I get to see how the island has expanded, or like all of the things that I have done to help the town. And you just take it day by day, which
yeah,
is
but you're not
life.
even
Like,
helping the town
but
because
people
you
got-
say you don't even use the terraforming stuff. So like, what do you're just sitting in your house and then you go talk to them for 3 seconds and then that's it.
I'm not good at terraforming, all right? Just the same way I'm not good at playing Mario Maker. Like,
I put a
Minecraft.
baseball field in there for them. I put a basketball court. Like I got
man.
all the activities for them.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Anyway,
By the way, people do speedrun Animal Crossing. I found it, and there are different categories like first debt, all debts, golden net. How long does
Yeah.
it take to get the golden net? The world record is 2 hours, 36 minutes.
oh
So
my
there-
God, that
there
is
you go.
crazy.
I don't know how it's
wow,
done,
that is
but that's
incredibly
real.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, we are. I think this is officially the longest episode. So congratulations, Def, for being on the longest
Sorry,
episode.
No. It's been a lot of fun though.
Yeah, no, it's been a good
the
time.
time just swept by, so I appreciate the time. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we just had a 20-minute rant about Animal Crossing. So,
Yeah.
but thanks for being
good burnout discussion. I think the gamer burnout topic was really suitable, especially from the gaming side, and then also to get to talk about the content creator side. I think both are very relevant to me as well. So it was a great discussion.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It was a good time. We appreciate your insights. We thank everybody for the comments. Make sure you like the podcast. And don't time travel in Animal Crossing.